I don't want it to come at me. It chops my head off. Oh, look it. He's like a freaking evil sorcerer.
How's it going?
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Maggie Me Podcast Productions.
Podcasts.
Oh, we have to
yeah,
walk really close. I can...
We're going to be bestest buddies. It's going to look weird on there. That's what I was like, maybe I should just be a tourist. And
It's all good.
Things.
Look at this. This is incredible. This is incredible. Hey,
Are
Megan.
you recording already? Okay, go ahead and do a clap real quick so I can line it up. All right.
That's it?
That's it.
Rock and roll.
Rock and
This
roll.
is just so, like, I feel like a movie star right now.
I feel like a movie star right now.
I got cameras on me. This is a news story for channel riverbender.com.
Yeah, no. This is, welcome to the Caught with Association podcast.
What's it called?
Caught with Association.
Caught with Association.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you want to be associated with me. There could be things that would be less than ideal, but you've been there for a long time.
Yeah. So, we've been friends since, God, forever ago. Since I was 14. I don't want to...
Was that how old you were?
Yeah.
I'm 37 now, and you're what?
28. Well, Jordan's getting attacked by the drone. That's what I'm really filming. Is Jordan's talent. We can stop here and talk for a second. So this was Gebbs' total video back in the day.
No signs are there anymore.
Signs anymore. There used to be a little sign.
Yeah, well, there used to be 3 signs and a big sign on the other side
Yeah.
that was there. And I moved into here in 2008 because I was down by your dad's old shop.
Yeah.
And he always joked, I'd be that kid that would come in and basically interrogate him for like 3 hours straight. But yeah, I moved down here in 2008, January 2008, and lots of memories. And then I found out that she moved in next door with the general store.
Yeah.
And I caught wind that she would want to buy my property. And I went over there one day and said, I heard you want to buy my property if this business goes well. So I made her a video, and then 6 months later, she bought my property.
Now you're living the life.
Well, I mean, I definitely ain't living the life from selling the building to her.
A lot of good memories in here. So, but yeah.
Because you spent a lot of time down here with...
Yeah, this is where I really started working. I mean, we got to know each other down on West Delmar.
But you were in high school still then and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. You shot your first wedding while you would have still been down there, I think, with me. I remember it was snowing. The first wedding you came, your dad dropped you off,
Yeah.
and it was freaking snowing. And then I think, I drove you home and everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so...
Good times. I was talking about in a previous podcast. Oh, Jordan's getting attacked by a wasp.
I know there's a lot of bugs out.
But yeah, our first wedding, I forgot to hit the record button.
That happens.
Yeah.
That happens. That's all right.
Trust the new team.
I still survived.
Yeah.
I put a lot of trust in the people.
People still want to book you for weddings, so.
It did hurt me.
So, but yeah, this is our walking podcast.
That's right. This is the first. All right, let's rock and roll. Well, this
Ready,
is,
Jordan?
it's funny because when I lived here with my buddy, if you remember Tim Maupin,
Yes.
he, by the way, it's the season finale of Ted Lasso today, so I got my Believe shirt on. I haven't watched it yet. Watch it with the whole family tonight. We're going to get our tissues out. But when I lived down here with Tim Maupin, at one point in time, I remember vividly he asked me if I wanted to walk to Subway, which is actually no longer in existence at this current moment in time. Rest in peace, Subway. But, it's a 5-minute walk from that building down by the McDonald's. And essentially, I was like, no, I'm driving. And I would always drive there. And finally, because right now, I'm probably, I don't know, about 165 pounds. Yeah. And probably somewhere between 155, 165 is like my ideal weight. Well, I was up almost near 180. Yeah. And finally then I started walking to Subway, and now one of the reasons I ended up staying in the town as well, because I've lived here my whole life. We lived over by West Middle School there where the football field is.
Yeah.
My parents still lived there. I moved in there when I was 7, and then moved really a couple little places, but mainly then went down to there and lived there from 2008 till 2015. But in 2017 or so, and a lot of people thought I moved away because I traveled so much.
Yeah.
But essentially, I started walking. I walked around back then and did lose weight.
Yeah.
But then I started walking up Henry Street and all over, and I just was, after all the travels, I was like, if you dropped somebody here in Alton and they knew nothing about Alton, they would think this is like a super wealthy place. Like there's houses that are 200 grand there would be 2 million somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then there was the Germania that opened, and that was the clincher that started the domino effect. And where we're going to go here with the Post, these things started to open up, and there's my mom. Holy crap. There she goes.
Going to go work.
But I don't know that I'll ever move now. I mean,
No.
we're close to St. Louis. We can pretty much get anywhere in the world, or 30 minutes away. But yeah, so
I'll switch you around because we got people coming. Walk through the.
yeah, I mean, you can film the people, get B-roll of them. They're obviously taking pictures as well here. They might be doing senior photos. You may mentor them, get them into you over here. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I love Alton. I remember being in high school and wanting to do anything to get away from here. You know what I mean? And then now, like being an adult, I guess I'm like,
You want to be riding here today?
yeah, we can chill wherever.
Sweet.
But yeah, I wanted to just get out of here. Now I would never want to leave.
I know, it's so great, and I think that in all my travels and all the people I've experienced, there's this aspect where at times, and definitely even through me a little bit, and probably some other things, have gotten to travel, and I think I've seen so many even with Alton who move away and then come back, and you see that in a lot of places. Some people never go back to where they came from, but a lot of people, I think that we always have this idea that grass is greener, somewhere else, and we see the highlight reels online and everything else. And sometimes you start to travel and you just realize what you had or where you had it was just as good or better than where you're at. Because at times we're going to these places looking to fill voids or whatnot, but we're carrying us with us everywhere we go.
Absolutely.
And so when you're hating your life where you're at, it doesn't mean automatically by moving somewhere else or quitting a job that all of a sudden life becomes amazing. Like there's something else potentially going on. And I think that's what people find is like, you see people who unfortunately, different variations. They're like in Florida, they're in California, they're in London, and they're married to somebody in Florida for a little bit of time, and then they're here. And like everywhere they go, they end up with somebody different, but yet they're like, oh, all women suck or something. It's like, you've been in different states. It's you're carrying with you from state to state. And so anyways, but
I think we got something funky with the people that are around here. Something special. I don't know.
There's a special breed for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Water.
we were just talking. He's like, we wouldn't eat the fish out of the water. You got Mr. Man over there, doing his thing. And look at that camera. Like I'm looking at him over there. I forget. In my entire career, the irony is, the only air quote drone shots I ever got were actual helicopters.
Yeah.
This technology didn't exist. By the time I kind of started to get more out of video, like my main thing that got really cool shots was the glide cam.
Yes.
And I would have probably loved this. I used to love video games, and but I just never got into it. So it's like when I look at some of even my work and compare it to even wedding videos today, there's an aspect where that's the only thing missing. And then there's no 4K and 8K, which some people I know still aren't even shooting in 4K, even us in a lot of ways.
I don't want to use that
Yeah,
space on the hard drive.
exactly. But the drone is something incredible that wasn't around, but technology is always changing. But yeah, it's a fun thing that you couldn't do stuff like this.
I know.
So.
This is fun. I'm just like, yo, Jordan, are you busy? Didn't give him much heads up at all. And they're like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Has he helped you with the other ones?
Huh?
Has he helped you film other
This is
ones?
the first time I've really had
Okay.
someone else like kind of film. Thanks, Jordan.
Cool.
I don't know if you can hear
Does that have a zoom?
we'll make it zoom.
You can zoom a little bit. And
I don't know if you can from the...
it's like they're tripods in the sky, though. It's so
Yes.
cool.
We did use it for the wedding this last week, and then really, let's walk up these stairs a little bit. But you got to use it for the wedding, and I didn't touch the glide cam all day because he's able to get like these low panning shots just like the glide cam.
Oh,
So
okay.
a little bit better.
Wow. And then, like I said, they're like tripods in the sky, like floating tripods, because they're so smooth. We've been in places, we used to travel, it was so windy, and miraculously that thing got shots like it was locked into the sky. It was crazy.
Yeah, I remember whenever you did the helicopter shots for Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Was it a gyroscope?
Yeah, it was like this. It was like hundreds of dollars a day to rent this thing, and it looked like a bomb. And we had to hold it, and it was like shaking, but it kept the shot really solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool. But that was what we had to do. I mean, we had to get in helicopters to get these kind of aerial types of shots because, I mean, there might have been something, but it would have been so jank. I mean, I don't even, remember.
Technology is
Oh my God.
changing way too
Even these, as the drones have come out,
Yeah.
these things, there's ones for hundreds of dollars now.
Yeah.
I always seem to capture everything from TVs to cameras when they were 10 times the cost.
Yeah, and then now it's just.
I'd be the early adopter. Oh, now we're gonna go past my high school, so
Yes.
you just take me.
We'll take like a little break real quick so Jordan can get up the stairs.
All right. What do you want to know, Megan?
What was the last video you edited?
Oh God, that I actually edited. Cause shot, I was actually just in Arizona like 2 weeks ago, which I did not edit. I mean, I've edited a little bit here and there, even in the last few years, for some of my own like personal motivational stuff.
Yeah.
But like a highlight video for like an actual client potentially, I honestly don't really know. Maybe 2018. But even that was like I would do. It was like a same day edit, music video only edit for this guy, Lewis House.
Yeah.
It was before you came to that and helped me. It was me and Jessica. I did 1 year, I think, by myself, maybe. Or she might come with me. I can't remember if I did 2 years before you came, but regardless, one of those I edited. But overall, for video, for my company, for clients, I've done very minimal editing since the same day edits. Like when I did the same day edits before you and Vanda Hay started helping, that was the main thing I was still editing up until 2011, 2012, and then you guys probably 2011-ish, 2012, 2013, 14 really started to probably edit the majority of those when you guys came with me. So if like you or Vanda Hay wasn't with me, I'd still edit them.
Yeah.
If like you guys ruined something else or whatever the heck the case was, because really outside of you two, there was nobody else but myself of people I was connected with who could edit those. But yeah, that's one thing I've gotten rid of because I realized in the big picture, I mean, in the big picture, all of it, when people ask me, because I've done minimal, I mean, since before 2020 and COVID hit, I probably traveled 4 to 6 months out of the year. And then after COVID, I've probably traveled maybe 6 to 10 times since 2020. Yeah. So hardly at all. And I've done handful of things for Hanlon in the last year. And then my first project that was like my project, I just did a few weeks ago. I haven't shot any of my own projects since COVID had hit. Wow. But the thing is, when people ask me, do I miss video? The main thing I miss is, which I'm like this, and hey, my little tracker I showed you the other time. So I think it was at 49, 51 or whatever. I was like 49% of the time I had spent with people outside of Jessica and like that. Yeah. It's up to almost 60% now just since we did it. So that's the thing I've been trying to do more, because my main thing is I love people. And so with video, I ultimately did interact with people more. Yeah. When I would be on a 4-day shoot, I'd typically have somebody like yourself with me, or Eric Magana or whoever would be helping me shoot. So in our gaps, honestly, at times, even the shoot I was just on was a coaching client, and we'd be in the like meeting room and start talking, and we'd be talking, and then he'd be like, I really got to go film, even though he wanted to stay in the room. So it's like, I'd rather be in the meeting room talking and connecting, coaching, inspiring, whatever the heck you want to call it, than I would be running around with my camera. Yeah. So it's like, I have a skill with that, and here and there. It allows me to be with some of the people I love, like when I do some with Ryan and Alan and whatnot. But, more and more every day, it's to how can I fill my days where it's not like I'm on a 4-day shoot that's 12 hours a day where I might be with somebody I really care about, but I'm doing the connecting, talking part 40 minutes out of the whole day. Yeah. And how do I make the whole 8-hour day that? But, when I got into that, it was a lot more, I'm connecting with people every day, but it's all virtual. Yeah. And so having the belly button to belly button is what I miss the most.
There's a lot of memories. Sometimes I even forget like some of the cool opportunities I got to do with you. But what's your most memorable opportunity that you got to do?
Yeah, it is hard to pick something, because if I take one, it was the opportunity the guy flew me to London and I proposed to Jessica. Yeah. So that was obviously a highlight. you know, one of my, when we did the Tony Robbins stuff and we went to Fiji, you know, Ryan jokes, the guy, Josh Hunter, that we, you know, was our kind of main contact in the Robbins organization. He jokes because this guy, like, you know, Ryan and Chad were running around filming. I was, of course, filming again, but me and the Josh guy were like in the hot tub, chilling out, talking, and like at night, like we all got to sit in this hot tub, and it was the main time I think in my life that I got to see the Milky Way. Yeah. I mean, there was just no external light anywhere. The island we were on had none at night, and there was no islands close, and it was just awe-inspiring, the sky. And I think that, you know, when I think of all of it, it's interesting because we get caught up in the materialistic and the money and the gear and the technology and all these things. But when I do think of it, all of it's with people. All of it's the connections, the conversations, and some of those, of course, don't cost a dime, you know. And a lot of people I'm always checking in with myself because it's like we're chasing these things that sometimes we think we're running towards the accolades, the fame, the awards, and weird little micro ways. I've had this micro celebrity thing, and at times it's like, you know, it's still the everyday people that I love the most, that are the most fun to be with, you know, that are there for you. Even sometimes the most inspiring. I mean, Jessica's got an aunt who's like, actually, I think she's 90 now. When I originally wrote this post, took a picture, she was like 80 something. Yeah. But she's doing like all these push-ups every day, all this stuff, and it's just really cool to just see your everyday person. But yeah, I mean, the Fiji, the sky thing with Jessica, and I could just keep really going on and on of all these crazy. I mean, honestly, some are nothing to do with work. When I went with my brother to Europe, and we had crazy things in Paris and London, and almost got killed a few times, and I did almost get hit by a double-decker bus in London once.
I still channel, I'm pretty sure it's what your brother did. Whenever the people kept on like harassing you, I call it you out crazy the crazy to start.
He had sunglasses on. It was just, it was crazy. And I mean, and you know, you got to think my brother's like almost 10 years younger than me. Yeah. We were probably, I mean, my brother was probably 16, honestly, 16, 17 years old. And he was more, he pretty much saved me from near-death experiences when we were on that trip. But yeah, so.
Well, let's keep our walk-ins going.
Keep rocking and rolling. Oh, look at this.
Jordan, are you ready to get up top? Just stand up by this for a second.
Hey, everybody, get in, buddy. Sweaty legs.
I know. That was a nice hot walk.
Make it fearless. Here we are.
It was like hard to focus on walking and talking, so that was an experiment. Thanks for.
Yeah, hopefully we can have part 2. That's part 2.1, 1.2. You know, the enjoy the street.
Better. We're going to be better. We're not going to be worried about what's happening around us instead of the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I don't do a lot of. Sometimes I used to think, oh, it'd be nice if I biked with people. They're like, yeah, I actually prefer to bike alone. It's kind of a weird thing trying to bike and talk because I love to talk. So I would just bike with.
Yeah. Anyways. So here are the hard-hitting questions.
Oh, hit me with everything. Yes. I have shared, divulged my, lightest, brightest secrets.
What are you doing or podcasts?
Maybe we'd pass out now. That's a really tough question. I have to answer. Let's do something.
All right, we'll do something else then. So
I mean, I might drop off, so I might, lose people by the time they hear that one. That's okay. I'm kidding. No, maybe with that I'll out.
Really?
Yes, seriously.
All right. Well, I guess no one knows what Michael Gebben's up to anymore.
Thanks for that.
About videography.
Yeah. I am cool, but no. Okay, fine.
You don't want to go deep. But...
No. It's so interesting. Every time, I will go deep. I go back to school. I get long answers for things. Some people love it. Some people are different. Some people hate it. But, in school, I never got in trouble for talking, ever. And if I did, with one, at St. Paul, Marquette, I don't know about Marquette actually, but St. Paul, you got check marks. If you whatever got in trouble, 3 check marks, 4th one, you get a detention. I don't think I ever made it past 1 check mark. I barely got 1. And if I got 1, somehow I got home. Somehow, I mean, oh man, fear of God was put in me. And the first day of school for my brother, a decade later, when he ended up I was about 14 years old, when he was in kindergarten, he punched some kid in the face and ended up in detention like day one, and always had excessive talking on his report card and everything. But I don't know what it is that did. I don't know if I was suppressing it or what, because obviously I don't know that there was a lot of kids even through grade 4 high school that would have looked and said that I was a big talker necessarily, because they definitely did party. I wasn't featured in the yearbook as like most likely to succeed. I was kind of friends with everybody, but I could be the kid that did party, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, and didn't get made fun of. But then there's somebody else that did the same thing as me, but was constantly getting made fun of. It was crazy. But when I got out of high school, at the time of one who ultimately, we joked. You used to come with me to the weddings and stuff, and I joked that you were a mute. I talk.
We're gonna reenact it today.
Yeah, right. This will be one of the examples. People get to see it. So I tend in most interactions to dominate the conversation. And if I had at one point in time this teleconference software, it was like a phone thing, but it would track the minutes. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking, we'll just call it all 2 hours, and we'll call it 10 calls. Out of the 10 calls, pretty much 8 out of the 10, it would say an hour and 45 minutes. We'll just say, like, it could be an hour and 30 minutes. It was always like, I talked pretty much 80 to 90% conversation. And I think there was a large part of my life for a long time that, because you hear people, even as now I do a lot of coaching and different things with people, when you learn from different people that are out there, and as you've learned to be a photographer, to be a videographer, whatever, there's a lot of different opinions. There's one person that says do this, there's another person that says don't do that, and vice versa. If the person who says don't do it could also be a very successful person saying to not do it, which is what happened a lot even in my video career. So, there was a part of me who, like, even in this answer, my answers are always I want to serve somebody on the other side. So, like, when I would, if you remember Ash Forrest, I remember I would always kind of even say things to her, because she was one who would be like, Michael, I hate talking on the phone.
Yeah.
If I talk on the phone, I talk for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And somehow when I talk to you, it's always 2 hours. And I always wanted to, like, make sure, like, do people feel like you talk too much, be whatever. And I just couldn't get out of people that they would. And one time I got to experience a conversation where I felt like, oh, that's definitely not what I do, but probably if I did, people wouldn't want to talk to me. Because when I would go to lunch with the person I hadn't seen for years, and I would start to go, you talk first, like, say everything you need to say, because likely once I get going, I just won't stop. So anyways, essentially, all the way back to you and others, had been doing a form of mentoring. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what mentoring was, coaching was, therapy was, consulting, counseling, or any other thing that you could do that's technically mainly using your voice. But I think when I started my company, I was just telling somebody this today, is like, you and almost everybody else who had any length of time with me, not like kind of came in and out and disappeared very rapidly, but people who were there for years, almost all of them are doing entrepreneurial things now. And it wasn't this like I wanted to like hold people hostage and get them to just work for me. It was like, by nature of who I was, people wanted to kind of go do their own things and be inspired to spread their wings. And so anyways, in the big picture of things, I started pursuing, coaching all the way back, I guess in 2010, when Mark Wonderland originally paid me to actually flew in, and I just talked all day for 2 days. And that was the big spark that was actually like, do you mean I could not set up all these lights and cameras and action and hard drives and all these other things that at times were the things I had grown to do? I wouldn't say like all of it, but I grew to know how to do. I got really good at it. And obviously, as you know, and you do in video, and you helped me tremendously on, the same day edit was my main thing in video. Yeah. And even Ryan Hanlon, who I hired back in 2010, I'll never forget. He was like, you are, when I get you, when I'm on the phone with you, or when I'm with you on a shoot, you're great. The final product is great, but you are a pain in the ass to work with, because I wouldn't respond to phone calls, wouldn't respond to emails. All that kind of stuff would fall through the cracks. But I guess I leaned so heavily into my strength of this same day edit thing and my skill there that it helped alleviate my weakness that was kind of really weak in other areas, but my strength was so strong. And what happened in video is I think a lot of the people I seeked advice from, I didn't respect.
Yeah.
When people told me if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't succeed, the people who told me that were like my friends, parents, my aunts and uncles. And I don't know if this was intuitive or what, but I look back at it now. I didn't say I didn't respect them back then or anything else. I just chose to not listen. But I think when I look back, it's like, well, I didn't want their lifestyle. I didn't see them doing things that I desired to do or a life I desired to live. So I thought, well, you know, if this is what this got you, then I don't want that. I didn't really like school. Now I miss kind of the people part. Yeah. But I don't miss school. I don't miss the way that you learn through school. But so essentially, I followed my gut, my heart, and my intuition a lot more growing my video production company. And against the, like even the same day edit, there was a lot of people who told me not to do it. Because in the beginning, for years, I actually didn't get paid the majority of the time. I got paid to do the web. I got paid for what was considered normal or easily understood to kind of sell a package with weddings. But when it came to the same day edit, it was just this weird, it's still, I think in a lot of ways today, there's still plenty of people who haven't experienced it, don't really understand it, don't know what it is. But I against everyone else telling me you're devaluing yourself if you give it away for free or if you charge too little or all these things, I did it anyways. And in video, it was absolutely 100% the game changer outside of I now look at my personality and who I am, my friendliness and easy to get along with and all of that. Doing that same day edit over and over again when people sometimes didn't want it. Yeah. Even like maybe didn't really want it and I still would do it. Yeah. And most of it, even with those types of people, still were happy I did it. But doing it. And so when I finally had all this success in video and got asked to speak at conferences and do this stuff, I really started to get this bug for being able to use my voice. I think what's so fascinating is like I broke $100,000 in revenue 2 years out of high school when I had no connections, no relationships, no skills, no talent. I had something, but not to the degree that I'll get to later. And yet I was able to very rapidly out of high school do really well relative to even other videographers who've been in business for 20 years. And so I had the success of video. I didn't know anything about coaching. I didn't know anything about speaking. I didn't know anything about any of that. In fact, I would be literally petrified even to get into a little networking meeting with 20 people and have to do the little 60 to 90 second, blurb about who you are. I hated that. I'd go to the bathroom to avoid being in that little thing. So anyways, I got into all the world I got into with Tony Robbins and all these people, not to make money, but to simply actually learn from these people. And although I did learn a lot, I am grateful for when I started my company because I think the people at least I get to interact with, and I don't know other people will relate that they're listening to this, and I'm sure there's a wide variety based on what you said that potentially will hear what we're doing here, but just how I'm wired and who I am, I don't know if I'd ever had the success I have today if I'd have started with the way the world is today, not because of the economy or anything else, but simply content. Like the fact that you're doing this is something that even when I started my company, technically, I mean, I did get a loan, but what somebody could do today for $1,000 to $2,000 would have been $20,000 to $30,000 in 2005 when I started. I mean, a 500 gig hard drive was like 500 to 1,000.
I was talking about the difference between like this, like
with the drone thing, yeah,
or you probably spent $1,000 just on a gimbal.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, now there's literally 75-inch TVs that are $500. I paid $1,700 for a 32-inch TV that I took to browse shows. So everything, even some of the debt, and your joke with that lady, I don't know if it's that making it, but there's this thing about financial literacy and the fact that literally I could probably never earn $1 the rest of my life, and the lifestyle I live, I would survive off of what I made from 20 to 30 years old. But because I didn't have that part, which I don't regret. It is what it is. We all learn. We can't focus on the past or we'll be depressed our whole lives. But the reality is that let me just tie back to the, so, I'll go all over the place, but I think that I just heard the lead singer Ryan Tedder or something of One Republic talked about how there's 75,000 songs a day uploaded to Spotify. And
so the sheer volume, you know, there was a time with my grandpa, literally there were gatekeepers, and you pretty much did need a publisher or keep your book published. And if they said no go, then no go. There was no ability to sell 500. You could have knocked down doors and really got super entrepreneurial with it. But even still then, how are you getting it printed? Like there weren't these on-demand sites that you can go to and be like, I don't want to get a publisher, so I'll pay $5 a book and print it myself. No matter how janky or whatever it may be, you can do it. And so as much as that's also a blessing, I think that now, whether it's relationships, like even me, I mean, MySpace was not a dating site, but yet I met my wife on it. But now there's obviously swipe left, swipe right, 5,000 different brands of apps that exist for you to meet someone. I'll just leave it at that. We'll get into all the nuances of that stuff, but like meet someone. And that's the same for business though, is like the kind of paradox of choice and options that are available to someone. I didn't end up changing my shirt, but when I reflected on, I spoke in Berlin in 2014, and I think that's when I first came out with MIA. And I didn't have a logo or anything with it, but MIA was massive and perfect action. And I looked at my career and I saw that really it was like I just took this manic, massive, imperfect, crazy action. I tried so many things. I threw so much at the wall. I made great relationships. I burned bridges. I ruined relationships. I broke up. I had all this stuff. And when I look at my company when I started, there weren't many choices to make. It was like, you do this or that. It was a little bit more black and white. I mean, there were options, but by and large, I could go online and go, I want to do wedding videos and literally spend the rest of eternity 24 hours a day watching wedding videos. Like there was a few people at some websites, there were some forums. You know, my mom gave me a DVD. That's really my first wedding. I watched one wedding video. That was it. There wasn't YouTube. It was 2000. I think it was 2005. I filmed my very first wedding when I was right when I graduated high school. And it was my neighbors, my good friends' neighbors that thought my friend Patrick from the movies we made in high school was the guy who filmed and asked if he could film their wedding. They go, Mike was the one that runs the camera. I told my mom this the other day, like, a lot of my stuff happened accidentally and not really on purpose. I didn't on purpose want to do funeral slideshows because I thought that would be a great business model, but that's really how I made my main money before I before I graduated high school. You know, my dad works at a cemetery and literally we could walk there in 2 minutes, was Brian Steak Fine across from Marquette, knew we did this, and funeral DVD, funeral slideshows or something big. And so with coaching, which is really, I mean, primarily what I'm doing, what does that mean? I mean, some people, I'm obviously not a licensed therapist. I didn't go to college. I have those certifications. I mean, there's people who went to Phelps School who were the worst people I ever had to help me. I mean, you joked about a couple first times you helped me, didn't even hit the freaking record button or something. Yeah. You know? So like, I had the most unqualified human beings at times, air quote, but yet they were the best because you're the most coachable, you were driven, you wanted to learn. And I've told people this recently, which is I think something that I do miss, that I have talked a lot about publicly. But, you know, there's sites that exist in droves that I can literally get an editor on any part of the literally globe, anywhere in the world. I mean, there's probably some guy in Mars right now that's potentially editing. Yeah, that's what it tune out. But like, from the fact that I could get a video edited, from somebody in Pakistan for $40 and it's better than somebody I could pay $500 or vice versa, whatever. But like, so the options are endless of the access to talent, but simultaneously, it's again a blessing and a curse because honestly, lost my train of thought.
You're good.
There was something I was saying. Go ahead and probe something. Because I know it's going to probably come back 3 seconds after you start talking about it.
A second. Let me see where you were going with it. No, it's always about like, this is what I tell a lot of people. I think a big lesson that I learned from you from growing up doing weddings. It's one thing to know how to work a camera, but it's another thing to be a personality and like make people feel comfortable and know how to get through the day. And like, you were most of the time of me training underneath you. I was like working and like waiting, like I'd have the car packed up ready to go home. And here's
now I'm still talking
for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were done 2 hours ago, and I'm just like sitting in the car. I'm like, oh, he's just chatting. making money somewhere.
Well, and I think that when I think of my travels, the other thing's probably gonna still, it's like nagging at me, stop that dual talk here, but when I did my travels, like, I got to think to myself, well, I just had one, the one I did in Arizona. I'm like 99% sure that he had forgotten about me. I had done a project with this guy since 2016. Sends me an email, hey man, it's time to update the video. And literally I probably talked to him once since we made the video, 2016. And this was, so reference, 2016, this was literally 3 weeks ago. This was in 2023. This was in, or we freaking in May. Shot this thing in April, I think. And I tell Price to do the thing, books the job. He carbon copies me on an email to his assistant. He says, tell such and such, which is another videographer, we don't need him for everything we're going to need, and make sure he charges us less money. So I'm pretty sure that this guy forgot about me, hired another guy to do exactly what we were going to do, and then was like, what about Gebbs? It'd be cool to have him. So and I'm pretty sure I'd probably also charge more than that guy would have charged. And I think, okay, and this guy was local to Arizona. So it's like, why on earth? And I don't know what the guy was going to produce. I don't know anything about this guy, really. He was still on site. He actually mainly ended up doing photography and did one video thing. A nice guy. I never looked anything up or whatever. But, I've been to all over the place. I've probably been to 35, 40 of the states out of 50. And I think, why do people fly me to Florida, to California, to these major hubs? Not some place where maybe, there's just less talent or something. But I'm talking about New York City. There are thousands upon thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people who could deliver a product like I deliver. Now, granted, will they give the experience? That is the thing that I think in this economy moving forward, this probably, I'm not sure. But
They signed up for this choo-choo train.
It's right. If you're here, you've already been 23 episodes prior to this. So if you've made it to my episode, you're probably
Trained out,
Yeah. But the economy in the future, people who are unwilling to do anything that involves human connection in person, you're already at a disadvantage. Number two, human connection online, then depending on what you are doing, you will likely be replaced by versions of things, and people who would have had teams of 40 people will have a team of 4 people because AI is going to do all the grunt work stuff that people don't want to do. And so I think that what you observed and why you are thriving is it's not you or to knock me, I'll knock us both simultaneously, because I've literally had people call me and show me what they had, and I am looking at it through a creative filter lens and going, I don't know how the hell you think I'm going to be doing better than what you got there. I mean, I'm not bad, but I'm probably not as good as that. Now, this is all kind of internal in my head, but I ask him, I'll say, can you tell me why you're not using the person that you have? And everything they say has nothing to do with the product, typically. It's either the speed at times, they were slow, it might take them 9 months to deliver, that may be true, but a lot of it, I just had one. Everything they said was all about bad attitudes, they weren't friendly, they were, seemed to be hating what they did, they treated people with disrespect, so none of it had to do with, at times, they produced a bad product. And I think that there's a lot of, especially in the creative fields, there's a lot of people where the intersection between creatively doing what you love and having that thing that you really love making you money, so i.e. say actually having a major motion picture or a film or something like that, those things are far more difficult to make money with at times. And so as a byproduct, people get into weddings, they get into corporate video or whatever, and although you can apply filmmaking skills and whatever, they have little control at times in their mind. They're not getting to make the narrative film or the deep thing or whatever they want to make. But the problem is they don't show up to that thing they're making a choice to do right now to make money and actually show up with a good attitude. So they show up, I don't want to be here. And they're not good at putting on face, And so as a byproduct, people feel that energy that they don't really want to be there. And I think that if we remove money from the equation, in the video space, and you remove even the final product, I'll probably be 98% of people, because most people just can't simply, they don't like what they do. And people feel that. Like, I've had people who literally like, oh yeah, the longer my conversation goes, the more likely I have to book the client. I'm like, yeah, because most people get a call and say, this is what I need. The person will ask a few questions. They'll go, here's my menu, the 3 things that cost this, what do you want? And then all that took place in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And people don't get, this is back for the talking thing for me, leading into strength. For whatever reason, because a lot of my coaching, I got people saying, I'm sorry all the time because they're rambling, they're ranting, they're mouth vomiting, verbal diarrhea, and they're talking because they've never got to be heard.
Yeah.
Because when they talk, the people they're talking to don't care either. And they're going, are you going to get to the point? What I don't understand, and all this stuff. And so maybe that's a point to tie into coaching. So part of what I'm doing, it's not this normal fit in a box, here's what I say, here's this 10-step formula and framework to success, because I think that coming full circle to when I got into all of this and thought, oh, this is something I could do, the people I learned from, although well-intentioned, and it wasn't specifically Tony Robbins or anybody else, it was the collective of that industry, is great at marketing. And unless you fit a mold, poor at helping.
Yeah.
But if you market to enough people, you sell enough people, you're going to have, if I sell a program that says you're going to make $10,000 in 10 days, so there's these things that are like 10K at 10 days, and they market it like, if you've got a pulse and a computer, you're going to be able to do this. And then they've got testimonials. Well, it's because if I sell 40,000 people something, I might get 400 who fit all the right criterion to actually make 10,000 in 10 days. But a lot, and I've told Vanda this, and how you liked it, but like a lot of people will talk about, don't sell the process of the journey, sell the destination. But that's not true for everything. And so what happens is people literally think, and not literal, but like, I think that there's this subconscious assumption that they bought a private jet for $5,000 instead of $5 million. And they did. They go into the hangar, and all the parts, and all the tools, and all the manuals, and everything is there that you could build the private jet.
Yeah.
But literally, if you don't know how to weld, and you don't know how to build, and you don't know what all this stuff it is, and you're by yourself, and you're not already like, oh yeah, I already got a team, and we'll all come in to do this, then you could do it, but it might take you a decade of learning.
Yeah.
And for somebody else, they've already got the team, the know-how, they've learned how to weld over the last 5 years. They just needed some certain pieces and things. And when they buy it, in 10 days, they learned something they didn't know, and it happens for them. And so what happened to me, and with the recent, some people go, oh, of course I knew. I'm like, well, I sure the hell didn't know anything. But, recently last year, I got these brain scans, and I learned about ADHD. And it used to be, I thought, oh, it's those kids I had in school who couldn't sit still and were troublemakers. And then I thought it was bad parenting. And I think in a lot of things in life, we have these stereotypes. We hear ADHD, we hear online business, we hear advertising, we hear self-employment, entrepreneurship, we hear religion, we hear law of attraction. Everybody who heard those words has likely some gut reaction to those things that is good or is bad or it's indifferent or they don't know anything.
Yeah.
But there's something that they think when they hear those words. And so the internet has allowed us to hear those words and hear a million different opinions. Because back to this, whether it's good or bad with what I do and the fact that I didn't go to college, but then that I'm also technically helping people with mental health, some got real bad, like, that was a horrible thing. You should be a certified person. I'm not telling people you need to go take medications or pills or anything else. I'm not diagnosing mental illness. I'm not helping people who are like really off the deep end. But just like in school, automatically somebody, I don't want somebody cutting into my brain that's like, I watch a bunch of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I think there's a small sliver of things that need a lot of regulation. Yeah. And then there's other things where it really depends, because just because somebody has a degree as well, just because somebody went to film school, just because somebody took a film course or whatever, doesn't make them great at it. I feel like I've invested more time learning about human behavior and personality and people and psychology in the last decade than some people who are in school, because some people go to school to get the degree, the certification, whatever it is, whether it's law, whether it's film, whether it's photography, whether it's business, and they tend to stop. And I think that the people who I got into video with initially, and I think that's the thing with you, you got like an osmosis thing. You got to constantly, you were such a curious person and observer, so that you part that we're joking about, you spent years observing me.
Just a sponge.
A sponge. And I think that we joke that I think sometimes that you can't learn through osmosis, but the reality that I'm learning is you absolutely do, but not the way I think people would think. So like, when we're around our parents all the time, a lot of people, you hear things like breaking cycles, people that generation after generation, they look cause of finding this kid goes to college or this whatever, and then they're breaking the cycle, and maybe their kids go to college. The irony is then they make it as though their kids must go to college, when maybe what they're wanting to do, that might not be the best thing, but nonetheless, they break the cycle. Well, it's hard to break cycles. Kids who have parents who are alcoholics, more times than none will end up alcoholics, not alcoholics. Yeah. Like it's more rare versus kids who don't have alcoholic parents, they're more likely to not be alcoholics and more breaking the cycle to be one. Yeah. And so I think nowadays, and I've still never probably full the point that I was making about the fiber thing that I wanted to make, but is that the options though, and maybe that's part of the point I was making, is when I didn't have many, it was easier to make decisions. And I think people now are paralyzed in indecision. They really don't know. They're so afraid that's for imperfect action, but still what I'm finding is I was a guy who did that for a long time. I took a lot of action. I mean, I was not afraid to do things and test things. And yet what I call these stove moments, if you think of a stove, you touch it and your brain knows, don't do that again. Now, some people's brain might be slower than others. Might touch it a few more times, but likely you're not going to hold your hand on a stove unless you have no sensitivity in your hand. And then you just look and you're rotted off your hand. But like most people, you do that a few times and then you just won't do it anymore. And I think when I started my company, there weren't many options. There weren't many decisions to make. There wasn't YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and every other thing there is in existence today. So I just did. Yeah. I had little to no trauma in the big picture in my life up until, honestly, my dog passed away when I was like 7 or 8. Yeah. I got traumatic. And the next dog we got, Cindy, I was this close to. But outside of that, I didn't have a lot of death or problems or challenges, no abuse, nothing really bad. And so when I started my company, it was just this like, balls to the walls. Me and my buddies, we go out before you. It was like me and my buddy Tim and Andrew, we go out for 8 hours for $250. And honestly, back to like how money, whatever, it's like how it's so weird. Those are some of my greatest memories. Yeah. Just going out for $250, like no debt, no responsibility, no care in the world. It wasn't like I had to analyze, no, I can't do this unless you're paying me at least $3,000. Like it was just, we just did. And there was something pure and fun and enjoyable about that. But as I got older, I thought I embodied MIA, imperfect or inspired action. But in the last 3 or 4 years, I realized, I love acronyms, by the way. So I realized, though, that I kind of had the more MOA, which I identified as massively overthinking my actions. And I don't know if it's because the profession that I felt chose me, not because I chose it. Because just like video, I wasn't the kid who's like I feel more had from your dad. That's why he wanted you to help me, because you were making these little YouTube figure things, whatever, videos that were fun and quirky in high school, and you really loved filming. Yeah. Whereas with my dad, I helped with the movies, but that was not my dream. I wouldn't say I had one. If anything, I was more kind of entrepreneurial. I tried to have I had a candy machine business. I tried to have a car detailing business, and I was going to cut a hole in my parents' fence, the football field. Yes. Never did that, but like I had all these kind of entrepreneurial ideas. I thought I was going to be a personal trainer at Valley Total Fitness and go to school actually for kinesiology. And so the video thing kind of fell in my lap. I started making money with it, and I thought, okay, and I had a skill, but like this is working more than anything on these other random options, so I went with it. When I think of the work I'm doing today with speaking or coaching, consulting, whatever, like I don't feel like I chose it for reasons like, like a lot of it gets sold as a freedom business, or as, there's a lot of people say, you can't teach, or you can't do it, teach it, and so there's a lot of people who become teachers in business because succeed in business. And you hear those kind of things. And I mean, there's nothing, it is what it is. But like, I think for me, it's like speaking and coaching, it chose me. I didn't choose it. Like, I can't not do it. I stopped doing it for 2 years. I almost went bankrupt, in the pursuit of like making a living with this coaching thing.
Yeah.
In 2016. And then I stopped, and my actual income shot way back up for 2 years. But like inside, whether one wants to believe it's God, the universe, soul, this, that, or the other thing, like something kept pulling me and nudging me to use my voice and not just be behind a camera. And so I've continued to do that, but I think the point I doubt whether it matters. This is just a point I'm going to make, is that I have felt like a guinea pig in my whole life. Like, I do things, and the one thing that it's never changed with me, that a guy asked me probably 2012, then I remember, he's like, what's probably one of the biggest things or traits that you have for your success? I said, you know what? An ability to get knocked down and get back up. Like, a lot of people have been knocked down and they won't get back up. And in the last few years, I think there's been a little portion of me with the amount of actual deaths and air quote, small, big, medium, whatever you want to call them, little traumas and things that have happened that made my brain go against my better judgment. Don't do that. You've already done that. See, when I started, done anything.
Yeah.
So there wasn't, this is going to happen if you do this. And this is where the osmosis thing that's metaphorically killing people's dreams, aspirations, goals, or even doing things, is all of this kind of stuff allows somebody to listen in now and plant seeds in someone's mind. They can go, well, that's what happened when they did it. So rather than think I could do different and get a better, different result, they think I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that struggle. Now, I don't think, from what I've studied, that it's all conscious in like actually your conscious awareness is doing it. It's your subconscious sabotaging you, whether it's your direct or indirect experiences of mind. Some people have done something, touched the stove, it says don't do that again. Sometimes the touching of the stove for the person is just through eliciting or reading of comments. Like, there could be a photographer in a Facebook group who posts a photo and you think, wow, what an incredible photo. And then you start reading the comments and you see somebody destroying this person left and right. So you think, I'm never going to share my photo because I don't want to feel that directly. And so a lot of people, and that's why in video, I started more and more to just remove myself from the entire world. And that's when I actually had the most success. Because when I started going on, it was video university, like .net or .com, and just forums before there was social media. And I remember I had a few things, and I'd read things. It was so toxic. There was some positivity, but mostly toxicity. And I think the world has a lot of positivity, but unfortunately, based on what we can see in the media, is like, it tends to get the least airplay. So if I don't know, I was trying to figure out something here, but like, if the whole frame is good, everything in this frame that somebody can see right now is all good and positive, except for right here, this cup.
Yeah.
This cup is the negative.
Zoom.
The zoom, the media, everything is going to only focus on this cup, but the world's going to think everything's death, gloom, doom, horrible, bad economy, everything's from the. I grew my company. Maybe I truly, this is a truth to it, but we'll see what happens, now with the next stages of things happening. But like, I had a guy who's in my class in high school, and his dad ended up working at Lowe's. And I saw him probably a year ago. He goes, you remember what you said to me back in like 2008? I said, man, I have no idea. Shit, I can't remember what I said 20 minutes ago. So he's like, but this guy never forgot this interaction that we had in 2008. And I said, he said something about business. And he was trying to say before he told me what it was. I said, I don't know, man. I only had up to go. Like, I don't honestly remember it. He goes, you told me that you refused to participate in the downfall of the economy. And he goes, when I left that conversation, he was a general manager or whatever, he goes, I put it on all the monitors at all the Lowe's that we refused to participate in the downfall of the economy. And really, I did about 60 grand in revenue my first year out of high school. I did 40,000 the next year. And I went up every single year, which is 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I went up. Well, depending on your age and whatever, you can potentially remember what happened in like 2008, 2009 in the economy. It was a shit show. And I don't know if it was what some people say that I shouldn't be or that you shouldn't be, but I was super naive. I did not pay attention to what was happening in the economy. I did not know what was going on. I did not have it influencing me really in any way, shape, or form. I was living in my own little bubble, living my own little world, doing my own little thing, and I did keep going up. And really, I only went backwards in 2013 because that's when I really took the biggest turn away from the momentum I had. Ryan left that year. I was distracted trying to figure out other things. There was a business I had started. It fell apart at the same time that Ryan left. And from that point forward, I kept experimenting. But this guinea pig mentality, I feel like I did not relate, first of all, to anybody who had jobs, because I haven't had a job since I was in high school. So I didn't relate to that. I almost got fully employed a couple years ago. It did not. I get into it, it's irrelevant right now. But like, I remember that I was getting a lot of advice and putting things out there, but what happened when I almost went bankrupt and all the issues that started to happen after kind of 2018 or 2016, I got married and I turned 30, as I felt like this profession that kind of chose me, I was like this guinea pig where I would figure things out. I would figure it out at all costs. And this one guy recently has called it synthesizers. Like this ability to spend 10 years doing something, synthesize it all down. And not that you have step by step, but you can share lessons from that might help people not take 10 years, but maybe they can do it in a year. They don't do it 10 weeks or 10 days, but they could condense it, which I've seen happen. I mean, I had videographers who told me, like, I was sitting in the back of the room learning from these guys who've been in business for 20 years when I first started, and 3 years later I was speaking in front of their group. So like, how are you getting $2,000 to do videos? Like, we'd have to give our whole studio away. And so what I was able to do from 0 to 3 years, these guys had done in 20. And so this idea that in the last few years, I've become a guy who took 100 times less action than I had taken in the prior decade, definitely in the first 5 to 6 years of business. I mean, I just took crazy amounts of action. But now I'm trying to figure that out, trying to figure myself out, because now what I found is a lot of the people I work with, I couldn't relate to the people who couldn't take action. It was just like, take it, my take all this imperfect action. Well, now I see that people are dealing with traumas, mental health issues, the internet, and all the different points of view, and trying to distill this down. Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I take this action or that action? Well, this person, my family had this happen, and they lost all that, and they did go bankrupt, and that hurt their family. And somebody else they went bankrupt, and it didn't help their family. And it's like, so what do I do? And maybe I just, one guy just the other day said, if you don't want problems, don't have friends. It's like, well, but I want friends. It's like, so there's this idea that people are just so stuck in their minds. And COVID, for some people, was the biggest blessing of their life. Like, I have clients who literally, like, I was more free during COVID than I've been in my whole life. I said, well, do you see how you're allowing your mind to control you rather than you to control your mind? And although there's default things that we can't control, but if we just continue to live on autopilot, not step outside of ourselves and try to observe what's happening, then we don't realize that we can have a default reaction, but we can make different choices. And I think you've broken patterns in your own family, of things and stigmas and this and that, maybe around business or entrepreneurship and what you should charge and money you should make and how you should work. And I know we've had lots of those conversations, but you broke through in a town where there are very few. I'm not saying either one of us are financially wealthy, but like in the sense of, I mean, I don't know judgment. We could get into those details or whatever we want to share, but there's not a lot of wealth in Alton, Illinois, in the big picture, and there's not a lot of people who, there's a handful of small businesses, but in the big picture, most people will move because they think they can't succeed here. I take great pride that I never did move. I did travel, but I never did move. Yeah. I've always lived in Alton. It's always been my home. And I think a lot of people, wherever their home is, wherever they're listening from, the internet, yes, has allowed us to access everyone, while simultaneously, that's coming full circle now, they access everyone in the connection, is that if you don't infuse your personality, back to the thing I brought up with the fiber, that's where it's at. If we do not infuse, if you do not like people, if you do not learn to connect with people, more and more every day, the jobs will be taken away from the people who hate people, want to isolate themselves from the world, and don't get creative and pivot. Even during COVID, there was businesses blocks away from where we went that went out of business, and there was ones that blew up because of it. I'll mention one that blew up, something like Germania.
Yeah.
They chose to innovate during COVID, open up a drive-through. They opened up more business locations during a time when others were retracting, and they were expanding. And so what is that? And I'm obsessed in this world right now with why in the same economy are there people doing the same thing? There are videographers or photographers or creatives who are crushing it, and there's other ones who are closing up shop.
You know what I think the difference is?
Yeah, please. And please, to interject any time about it.
I think that's what it is. That's what I learned from you, that like anything's possible with the right amount of passion. You can learn anything, you can do anything, you just have to be really fucking passionate about it.
And yes, I don't disagree with that. I think that I'll read this thing that I just sent somebody today, and I think that the greatest, the problem with the like kumbaya Zen Buddha monk teachers who are like, you don't have to, ruin relationships and burn bridges and do all this stuff and you can grow a business, is almost every single cotton picking one of them have done that before they can. Well, I'll tell you what, some of it's not even lies. It's that I've probably only talked, I've got 3 projects that for me, and this is, there's privilege, but also, I planted tens of thousands of seeds for a decade to allow, this is where what I'm going to say here has 2 points to be made. I've probably had almost $25,000 made with no phone calls, 1 phone call, I should say. And it took us 7 minutes. I just got a $6,000 project for a 7-minute phone call. I've known this person since 2012. He was at my wedding. I've been at his house multiple. There's such a depth of relationship. And he just asked me, well, what would you charge a person off the street? I'm like, 6 to 8 grand. And this is still more than what he could get somebody to like deliver what he wants. He could have somebody for probably $1,500. They do a good job and fine banning. But again, wanted me. But I could have a 7-minute conversation that was really very honest. No BS. He knows what I make. He goes, I want that thing, right? That same day I did kind of highlight video. And it'd be cool if you're there. Do I know anybody still? Because he didn't think I did it. I'm just like, I do it here and there, man. And I'm like, I'm going to charge more than the average person to do it. But that's because of a 10-year relationship and thousands of hours of planting seeds. If I went and started, this is where the lies and manipulation happen, is it would be very sexy for me to sell a course that talks about how to close $25,000 worth of projects with 20 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, but that's only going to fit like 5 people's real...
Right, because they already know how to weld. They know how to do all these things. They've spent a decade learning how to do that, or building relationships and planting seeds and doing all this stuff. The corn's already growing. They just got to be reminded that the corn's about to sprout. Versus you leave the cornfield that you planted seeds and it goes somewhere else because you don't know that corn takes so many months to grow.
Yeah.
And so this is something I want to read, which there's people saying this stuff and people glaze over it because it's not the sexy thing. Now, I do not believe that one has to burn relationships and sacrifice all this stuff. But I do believe that we have to recognize that if there's a guy or gal willing to do what I'm about to read here, that if, just use the guitar for a second. If I want to learn the guitar, and I have a great mentor, a great coach, and you do too, we have the same person. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, you know what? I got about an hour a week to dedicate to learning the guitar. Megan over here is like, I got shit going on. And not to say she doesn't or does, but this analogy doesn't. And goes, I am going to spend 3 hours with this mentor. Or could be a version of me, right? Like you got literally 8 hours in a car sometimes, right? Like this wasn't somebody pays $1,000 to spend weekly. One day. Every week, multiple. So like the guitar person, I spend an hour a week with the mentor, and you spend 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. Who, just by compounding of time, is going to be better at the guitar in 3 months even?
Logically, me, but you
still don't know. We don't know, but I think that logically, reasonably, and everything else says that the likelihood's very high that the person who, over that time, like take actions, for example. Yeah. Some people spend 100 days to take one action. They think for 100 days. Somebody else takes 100 actions a day. Yeah. Well, over 100 days, they've taken whatever. I'm not great at math, so I'm not going to calculate, but they've taken like 1,000 and 10,000 actions when one person's taking one. And like the probability is 95% of the other person's actions don't work out, don't whatever, but they learn, they pivot, they innovate, they make adjustments, they make tweaks. And so this person posts this. This is somebody, I don't know if you've heard of these people, the Hormozis. This lady writes this thing. I am working so hard, but my business isn't working. One of the more common things I hear from first-time founders. The reality is how hard you have to work to make something work the first time is infinitely harder than every time thereafter. Now, before I read the rest, your dad used to say it could take 30 years to do a magic trick in 30 seconds. But once you learn how to do that trick, you can do it in 30 seconds over and over again. The problem is whether it's 3 years, 30 years, like your dad as an artist is one of the most talented human beings I've ever seen in this entire world. The part that's the blessing to the curse right now is if people don't care about the human connection, there are AI things that can create replicate things that your dad still will take 5 hours or 40 hours to create. They can do it in 30 seconds. Yep. That's a struggle for a person who took 20, 30, 40 years to get to a place where they can still do something in 4 hours that somebody else couldn't do in 30 weeks because it would take that time to learn. That now there's put these prompts in and things. So how many people psychologically or emotionally deal with they just spent 30 years of their life to do something that now there's a competitive edge because it takes 30 years or 20 or 10 years to do that people could do in 10 minutes. And there's the liars, the manipulators, and whatever. So this person goes on to say, for example, when we started Gym Launch, I was working 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. No dinners out, no networking, no lunches, no vacations, nothing. And then the gap between what was required to make the business work and my capability was so wide, I used every waking minute attempting to bridge it. The reason for that is because often we are not missing 1 or 2 skills, but 3, 4, 5 plus fundamental skills to make something work the first time. And so I just think that, yes, there's a lot of things that will literally be taken away. That what would have taken a person, even for me with grammar, there's things like Grammarly now. If I want proper grammar, I can plug it into a system. I don't need to learn how to be better at my grammar. Literally push a button and it goes all these red underlines and I can click buttons and it disappears. And it's like, so there's so much that what we're doing to grow business now, like we take the bistro, which we started at. To me, there's businesses that are around within blocks of her that don't get as much business and aren't probably making as much money as the bistro right now. But like, what's making the bistro better? I mean, at least when I do go to the bistro, I would say every single person I interact with now, people have their own opinions. Chris, if you're listening, about Chris at times, I love her, I get along, I have no problem with her. I know she'd be harsh and this and that, but like, by God, she has built a business where all the people that work there are super friendly. They're loving. They get the food done. They even, oh my God, I'm gonna blank out on her daughter. Do you know her daughter's name? Oh my gosh, she's whistling. Like Chris said. Yeah. Oh, I'm bad. I try to not say I'm bad with names, but sometimes I'm still, it'll come to me. My gosh, I know her. I interact with her all that. Aaron Bell. They implement things with current technology. They've got a text message system. I've literally gone and spent money with them literally because the text message like it, because I'm top of mind. Like it'll say, oh, spend $50 and we'll give you $60 and whatever, these things. And it's like, there's so many businesses that they want to do video or they want to make the burger or they want to do that. But when you go into entrepreneurship, you can't just be great only at making the burger. And I think that I got away with the fact that my personality and the skill I got to be good at video outweighed some of the things, but I wasn't like horrible at them. I did them, I just didn't do them well. Whereas some people don't do them. Like you can't, as an entrepreneur, you cannot just wake up. You can wake up and show up at your job. And some jobs, the pay just exists. It's maybe not forever, but you could. Yeah. But if you just exist as a human who's self-employed, I think you see, you know, as soon as you, for me, yeah, we could joke, somebody's still interested here and there for a wedding, but like, it's pretty few and far between anyway. I think I maybe had one in the last 24 months. Yeah. But I took 2 years. 2 years after a decade of filming them, where the lead flow did not decrease. And I did 0. 2015, 2016, I filmed 0 weddings, and I still had leads coming in and out the Egan, because I planted scenes for a decade. 10 years of showing up, networking with media. I was in postcards, billboards, every online website. I did bridal shows. I mean, we did the same edits to hundreds of people. I put them online. I mean, all these things where tens of thousands of people saw my work. And the reason the videographers who had been in business for 20 years were struggling is because they would hand a couple of DVD, one DVD. Yeah.
And the people weren't watching a video after reception too. I think that was the best marketing.
What? No, yeah, I got lucky. But see, some people, I can tell people to do it as a strategy now, but the reality is I never did it for any more reason than I love doing it.
Yeah.
I love the reaction. It did not motivate me to do an edit to get an email that said thanks.
Yeah.
Or number two, an email that was actually complaining. Because more times than not, if I heard from a couple, they had a problem with their video. They weren't happy. And because I would people would be happy, but like, if I heard something after I delivered the final product, more times than not, I heard nothing, which I seemed to be good.
Yeah.
I would hear something, but that something, if there was 50 people that messaged me something, I would gamble 25 to 40 of them that had something to tweet.
Immediately, the first memory in my mind is the day that I showed up for a wedding day, no preamp at all, and you're like, you're editing the same day edit today, and I did it, and it was great. And then the couple emailed.
That's what the one that the dad got divorced the day after, was it? I knew that one. Okay.
But they ended up finding out that I was the one that edited.
It did, yeah.
And they were upset. So
That was happened. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, and then they had you re-edit it.
Okay.
But the joke was on them. And by God, if they're watching this, you know what? It's been 10 years. But you had me re-edit it again, just because they were like, we want Michael to edit it. And you're like, I ain't touching this. Here you go.
It's so funny you say that. I remember a lot of things that get triggered. I don't fully remember that one because I remember telling stories that one of the first edits I did give off, I think it was Bart actually.
Yeah.
Was one of the first wedding videos I had somebody else edit. And I remember, it might have been, I don't know if it was or not, but.
Charles, I remember the Charles one where it was mainly just the dog.
Well, we had one with a problem, but I'm saying one of the first edits that was, I think, in the way, I don't know actually who edited, but I didn't have a problem. I remember I was belligerent about no one knowing but the guy who helped me edit. I don't fully remember who it was now, because now I'm thinking it might have been somebody else, but I didn't have an issue. They loved it. And I was like, wow. But that was the fear I had, which I did have scenarios, I guess, that even you're saying, where when people assumed that I didn't do it, it wasn't as good as it would have been. The biggest test was, and I had to watch how I did it because I'm bad at lying, I guess. I usually have a lot of tells, I guess, but was my characters.
Yeah.
I would show them, and then I would say afterwards something, and then they knew if I said something, but it was like, I wouldn't say anything, and I'd see their reaction first before I said anything. Yeah. Because if I went in and I did tell them, Megan edited this or Chris edited this, they just assumed it wasn't as good. Because for years I did do it. Yeah. And so I would notice that if I didn't say anything, they'd be like, I feel so great. And I'd be like, Megan, it was like something happened. Yeah. Not that you like you guys or anything, but there was something like all of a sudden it wasn't going to be as good. It's like you just freaking went bananas for it. And now that you think that because I didn't edit it, somehow was less than. But in this world, a lot of people I have who do get help with editing have come to the full realization, especially when they don't like editing. They're like, wow, this guy actually, I'm delivering better products now, getting some help than I would do it myself. But
yeah, I've definitely found that in my business finally. I remember back before the demise of the wedding, Gebbs, you had the idea like me and your brother were going to be on a team and all these different teams. And now I'm like, I thought that was like, that will never happen for Megan and me. And now I'm here like,
isn't that crazy?
Videographers that are better than me, I'm just, here you go.
Well, anyways.
It just takes time.
It's a journey.
I'm going to eat some lunch before I have to record the main. Okay. So what would be a good closer for us? It's like
there's our gun.
Talk about him. I miss him so much. This is going to hold us accountable because this will come out in November. So between now and November, we need to get with Eric and either me, Jessica. Zane's not going to fly. So it'd be me or Jessica. We need to go down to California.
Well, it's funny you say that because he probably, I don't know if he's going to say it or not because it says it recently because I've said something. To get, honestly, a whole crew of people that are still overall, we're all connected. Because I still have some people I'm not connected anymore, but like, there's a good chunk. I probably have, honestly, 10 to 20 people. And I was like, we need to get a day where none of us are doing projects. It's not filming together. We're just hanging out, having lunch, going go-karting, like doing some fun activities. And I think overall, most of them are here in the general within 30, 40 minutes. So I think he'd be more likely to come here. Yeah. And he could get everybody else, everybody else and stuff too. But and that's the biggest thing out of all of it is just, I think we all need to, the COVID thing's made a lot of people suppress their emotions, their feelings. They've gotten more depressed. Mental health is worse. They're not connecting. They're either afraid, they're scared for whatever various reasons. Get into all that stuff and whatever with people. But like, I think it is important. It's been really helpful for me as much as I get to connect with people actually every day, pretty much every day, literally all over the world. There still is nothing better in the big picture of doing this and being able to connect with people. And I think there's going to be so much room for this because like things that always come full circle, I think that, you know, Zoom's grew from like 3 million to 300 million users during COVID.
Yeah.
People are Zoomed out in a lot of ways. People are virtualed out. And I think the more people can recognize that there's opportunities in the creative fields, in service things like plumbers and fixing people's houses, because, you know, people want to get to fix my house sometimes. Freaking god dang, it's like 9 months in the future. Like, anybody refer? No. And then it's back to that thing, though. If they do have people, it's rare because people don't want to refer people they don't trust.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people have people that they really, if they do something, they don't have a lot of people they trust. You've done a great job at building a network of people that you can design your life and your businesses, get to work with people you love, and I think that's important. But no, I mean, for me, obviously we could go on for 50 more hours, so all over the freaking map as tend to be the conversations. But I'm just proud of you. And the big picture, you know, Lewis Howes, somebody you've dealt with me, and he always does at the very end this kind of like, you know, what's the word he uses? No. But anyways, it's like an appreciation. But like in the big picture, I'm happy to be on here. You know, the greatest thing, I've gotten paid really well, yes, but nothing brings me more joy than whether it's a client, a friend, or whomever who is living their dream.
Yep.
You know, and that's all really my work is done for people in the big picture of, do you know what I do? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I have conversations with people. I extract out of them what they love, what they like to do, and help kind of kill that overwhelm. And I think for you, we've just had thousands of hours of conversations all over the place at Steak and Shake and Habit Shakes and whatever else. And it's been incredible to see the person who did get to talk like they did today. All of you who know her, who are friends, know that she talks a lot now, and it's like you're just talking to the person who dominates all conversations. But
I just wanted a break.
yeah, you wanted a break today, and so if anybody needs a break from talking, and but that's the thing with the coaching I do. I don't do it this way. It's asynchronous. I won't get into that, but people get to talk a lot, and it's been really helpful because, yeah, I want people to be heard, to be seen. I think that today is no better time to get your words and your creativity. I mean, the fact that we can do this in a very simple way and share thoughts, and you get to hear all these different people is incredible. And the fact that you've built a team and you have people helping you, it's really inspiring, and I'm just excited for the future for you.
You'll forever live in my all my bios. Created by Michael Gebben.
Oh, stop. I appreciate it. Well, I'm happy that get out there.
We did it.
Okay, right. All right.
There's our podcast.
There we go.
This is the first one.
That's right.
We can start our own
Serious?
side one.
Yeah.
Tune in by November.